What is up, fellow sickos? I am Dan Favale coming at you with Mort Jensen of the NBA podcast fame, of Yahoo Sports fame, of Forbes' fame, of HBO Max fame, and of course of OnlyFans celebrity. We did our Eastern Conference rookie check-in already. Go check out that episode. A lot of fun, a lot of nerdy, dorky stuff in there. We're about to get nerdier and dorkier with the Western Conference rookies. This is more exciting, I think, for me at least, than the Eastern Conference class was. Still some names in the East that were worth talking about, but the crop of talent in the Western Conference, for me at least, was a lot more fun to scout. Before we get started, and Mort and I will bounce around, we'll take turns picking, which rookies, which teams we end up talking about. Mort, how the heck are you doing?
You know what, man? I'm doing good. I'm doing very well because... And I told this to Bryant, who asked me the same question, our mutual buddy, on Friday when we were doing a podcast. And I told him I'm probably going to jinx it now, but I haven't been sick for a month and a half. So I just to unjinx it, I'm going to say it for the second time because I could just see myself having jinxed it on Friday. Now, here on Tuesday, I'm going to say it for a second time. Hopefully, it unjinxes the whole thing. That's how it works,
yeah,
right?
That's bold because we're entering peak flu, cold, COVID season anyway. So that was very bold of you.
So
and look,
I'm going to do everything I can.
Speaking of peak flu season, this is being released on Thanksgiving in America. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody who celebrates. We hope you enjoy it and have some fun listening to Hardwood Knocks and the NBA podcast. I didn't ask you this when we did the East, though, Mort. When you're evaluating rookies in general, I make a joke that I just go off vibes, which is really just me saying I assign a lot of value to the eye test, but certain things where it's, if they were supposed to be really good at this and this is really bad, might raise my eyes. But is there anything specifically that you look for that maybe you throw out the window when evaluating rookies? Because I think year one and year two, they might be the most fun seasons to evaluate because you're not working with much, but at the same time, they might also be the most complicated seasons to evaluate because you don't know what to read into, what baseline to work off.
I'm glad you included the second year. I think I always find that the hardest to evaluate because, you can come into the league and have a great rookie year. Then we don't really know who you are if you then struggle in year two. And the primary example of this is Jaime Jaquez, right? Now, we just did not know what was going on there. He came in as a rookie, did really, really well. Looked like, at times, a borderline NBA player in year two. And now he's, the leading sixth man.
He was out of the rotation last year for the Heat at one point. Yeah,
exactly.
Nuts.
So it's that year two for me is a lot more difficult. And I think for me, it's just fun. I think you kind of nailed it with the rookie year. I don't put too much stock into it because I know that they're young, they're coming into to a new environment. What I have noticed before I actually answer your question, though, is, and I want to give rookies this compliment. For a long time, rookies who came in were just bad defenders, like horrendous defenders, just very, very poor. We've seen a pretty sharp flip of that over the past, I want to say 5 to 6 years. There are a lot of rookies coming in now who are quality NBA defenders. I'm really impressed with how they've closed that gap so soon. So I want to give them that. But there's one thing I'm looking for in terms of the eye test format. Hesitation. Does the player hesitate? When he gets the ball and he's just a little open, does he grab it and look, or does he grab that thing and just shoot the heck out of it? Because the guys who do that are usually the ones who end up doing well. I think to be a star in this league, you do have to have some level of irrational confidence. Even as a rookie, where your game might not be necessarily at that stage, but your mentality just keeps going with it until your level just increases year by year by year. And suddenly your blatant arrogance is actually as high as your own level of game. And then that's when that person becomes a star. So just being able to make decisions, quick decisions with the ball, being able to just be determined and say, yeah, I know exactly what I'm going to try to do, even if they fail. VJ Edgecombe, I'm going to give him this. I know we're going to talk about like the West thing, but we talked about last time around, he takes too many, pull up twos and whatnot. I don't necessarily hate it every single time. Like, yeah, he has some Kobe shots where you're like, uh-oh. But when he gets to a point where, oh yeah, I can just load up here and take this shot, sure, why not? Like, if he gets that down, I don't hate it. Like, it's not like it's rushed.
It's like getting mad at Ace Bailey for taking a step back three when you think a driving lane is open. It's allow them to explore that space
right
as a rookie. And it works in the inverse for me too. And Ace Bailey's a good example to where when we get to him, I want to see the Jazz have him do more things on his own or run more plays for him. I view it as super encouraging because just the narrative coming out of school for him was all over the place. And I think you looked at this Utah roster, looked at what people were saying coming out of the draft and thought he would dominate the ball, he would be hijacking the offense. And he hasn't been passive by any stretch, but the fact that he is filling in those gaps and trying to work as part of that larger ecosystem, I give a ton of credit to it, but then I'm also sitting here, well, it's good that Keontae George is having a good season. It's good that the Jazz want to test out Walter Clayton Jr. as a playmaker. Larry Markkanen's having a great year, but do I want more on-ball Ace Bailey? And the answer is yes. But again, that's what makes the rookie years fun and also a little bit complicated.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think this isn't really a pick for either of us, but I think that we should just start with a rookie that no one has really ever heard of, and that would be Cooper Flagg of the Dallas Mavericks. What have been your initial impressions of him, Mort? And let me ask you this first, are you at all in the camp of people who are disappointed that Cooper Flagg currently is not running away with the Rookie of the Year award?
No, look, I can't be in any way, shape, or form disappointed in a player who's getting played entirely out of position by Jason Kidd to a point where I think it's hurting him this year. Is he the youngest player in the league? If not, he's like the second youngest or
he's
something.
Not even 19 yet. He's
right,
super
exactly.
young.
Yeah. I think that is just too much too soon, throwing him in as point guard. Like, I know these stats are noisy as hell, but according to Basketball Reference, he's played 0% of his minutes at the 4 and 2% of his minutes at the 3, 77% at the 2, and 21% at the 1, where I'm just like...
Yeah, even when they've now been able to move away from, like, we've seen a little bit more of Ryan Nembhard, we saw Brandon Williams, even as they move away from Cooper Flagg, quote-unquote, point guard, they're not playing him in his optimal position yet. And I think that's probably reflected just as much. I think he's been really good defensively. I want to make that clear. Yeah. But you look at the defensive playmaking, it would probably be a lot higher and even more impactful if he was in the right role or had a different, like, personnel collection around him.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, when you're playing that farther away from the basket and you have to guard like wings and like, yeah, that was always going to be part of his job. But I wanted him to become more of like a free roaming defender because I think that's where he's best. He's just not getting that treatment right now by the coaching staff. So I think what he's done, despite being played out position, is incredibly impressive. I am not sitting here and being disappointed at anything he's done at all. I'm if anything, I'm just in awe at how he continuously takes that challenge and goes, whew, all right, well, this is certainly something that's over my head at this point, but like I'm going to keep going at it. I think his mentality is super refreshing. And I think the coaching staff is wrong having thrown him into the deep end this soon. I think this should have been a year 2 thing. Or at the very least, I hope that they make a change after like the half season mark and say, okay, like we've tested him out that way. Now let's go get him into a more of a play finisher role, because I think that is going to be his primary scoring avenue. I don't think it's going to be, hey, let me create stuff off the dribble consistently. No, I think he needs a playmaker who can also set him up.
And that, I don't know how much of that to put on the coaching staff as much as the front office, the Nico Harrison era.
Oh, yeah. No. That's the front office. Yeah.
Yeah. And like that, now it's on Michael Finley and Matt Riccardi to turn over the roster and put him in a position where he can be at least blend the idea of him being a play starter and play finisher better than they have to this point. What I've really liked about him, I mean, like the defense is to me is mostly as advertised. I wouldn't have much to add there. He's already the two things that stand out for me. He's kind of a whiz at sniping those outlet passes in the backcourt where the offense doesn't really think that anyone's going to try anything, which is weird in this era where it feels like everyone's full court pressing more. Mm-hmm. And it's fun to watch smaller guards or ball handlers just think that they can take him off the dribble and get by him. And then either one, not, or two, they do, and then he's just going to block their shot from behind at the basket anyway. So the defense, he's going to be spectacular on defense.
Yes.
Offensively, he's been, I think, better than people are giving him credit for. He is quietly shooting 35.5% on self-created threes and just 18.4% off the catch. There's a lot of noise there. I think a lot of that is defenses are going to sag off him, so those are kind of slow dribble pull-ups he's taking. The catch and shoots, the quality of them, when you look at who is feeding him the ball. But I think it's good, the fact that he can hit the methodical pull-up three. He's also, his finishing at the rim, 65%, isn't great for someone at quote-unquote his position, whatever that is. But Mort, he ranks in the 14th percentile of shot quality at the basket because of the way the Mavs are built. So yeah, I'll take 65% finishing at the rim. He's 12 of 19 on floaters, so he has some touch, and he's 50% on twos in the paint that aren't in the restricted area. The league average on those shots is 44%. I think this is someone who's already a little bit more well-rounded offensively than he's getting credit for. The efficiency in full has yet to catch up, and I can sort of only imagine, well, what would it look like if he was just in more lineups where he was, whether you want to call it the de facto four or not, but where it's not as many floor spacing liabilities around him, and would be optimal, but I'll even take or the best player getting him the ball is who? Who is the best player on the Mavericks getting Cooper Flagg the ball right now? So if Kyrie Irving does come back this season, that will be really fun to see. I have zero disappointments with Cooper Flagg. I think the fact that he's not running away with Rookie of the Year, it's certainly on the Mavs roster construction. I think it also just says more about Con Knipple, VJ Edgecombe specifically, and some of the other guys we'll ultimately talk about.
I'm curious. You said 65% of the rim conversion rate?
Yeah.
Okay. It's because I'm using Basketball Reference. That has him at almost 79% efficiency.
So I use Cleaning the Glass, which is inside 4 feet and filters out garbage time.
All right. Fair enough. Yep. That's fair.
Well, I mean, even better than if he's going to be 80% at the basket and you're in the 14th percentile of shot quality at the rim. That's kind of insane.
Well, because there's a follow-up point to that, which I think is super interesting. So he's making, I'm using Basketball Reference for this one, and that is definitely within 3 feet of the basket. So I get the distinction there, where he's shooting 78.6%. Only 38.6% of those shots are assisted. So that means he's self-creating those paths towards the basket for the most part and converting at that rate, which I'll be honest with you, I did a double take when I saw that because the eye test for me did not capture that, which is why, again, to just say it for the 1000th time, you have to marry the eye test with the numbers because sometimes there's bias going on in some capacity. Like I would never in a million years have connected those things, but like that's impressive to me because he's not Wemby in terms of coming into the league at 7 foot ridiculous. Like he's 6'9". And for him to come in and be prototypical power forward height and length and just to keep doing this, I mean, come on. Everything is insanely encouraging about him is basically where
I think even when you're looking at the missed jump shots, I don't it doesn't look like anything is broken.
No.
Some of the misses have of course been bad, but I would bet that at some point he is either an above average, if you want to call it a mid-range shooter, or even just a decidedly above-average three-point shooter. I would bet on at least one of those things happening. And if both of them happen, then game over. I don't at that point, what are you supposed to do?
Again, to me, it's just a matter of how are the Mavs going to use him for the rest of this year, and are they going into the trade deadline with the eye on providing more. I don't want to say help because that sounds like they want to accelerate something, but like I want to give Cooper Flagg.
Well, they don't
more
want to trade
players
Anthony Davis. They do want to accelerate something more. Didn't you hear Mark Cuban? They're not trading Anthony Davis. I don't know. This would be tricky. I think there would have to be way moving parts involved. But why not try to take a flyer or even go after a hot? Like, is there any higher end might be extreme? But so Jared McCain would be a good example. We don't really kind of know what he is in Philly, but it'd be interesting to see him in Dallas, where the pecking order is kind of clear for him, and then you try to develop the. And look, if you're Dallas, even if you're giving up like bigger players in other trades, you're still going to be big enough to cover up for Jared McCain defensively. And so a move like that doesn't have to be Jared McCain, but just a younger ball handler type you could hope for the draft for that. But for the rest of this season, especially post All-Star break, I'd love to see that.
Same.
Do you want to pick who we do next?
Well, I mean, obviously, let's just go down the draft board. Dylan Harper, number 2 in San Antonio. I only played 6 games so far,
Is that
which is
enough to
unfortunate.
say he will win MVP? Oh, I did want to shout out 2 people on the Dallas Mavericks, the other quick rookies who got playing time. Ryan Nembhard had the game of his short career the other night, dishing out 7 assists. I do like his ability to spray when he's in the paint. And Cisse gave them minutes and has like a block rate of 9 when Dallas was really banged up. And so when you look at Dallas's roster, Mort, there is no reality in which you should have thought that Moussa Cisse should have had to log any sort of minutes this year, but they were so banged up at one point that he needed to. And so shout out to him. I apologize for taking us on that tangent.
No, that is fair. That is fair. He is a rookie. I wasn't drafted like an unrestricted or undrafted rookie. It counts. It all counts. This is a rookie pod. But yeah, I'm going to go back to Dylan Harper. What we saw in those 6 games, and I recognize the sample size obviously is a lot smaller because of that calf strain. He was so methodical. That's probably the best word coming into the league immediately. Just he knows where he wants to go at all times. He knows how to get there. And he was so productive in limited minutes where I was like, oh, okay. This is beginning to look really good. I was surprised defensively as how he, most big players coming into the league, especially big guards, they're a little afraid of using their physicality. They're a little afraid of like using their muscles and getting into the thick of things. They're like, oh yeah, because I'm probably going to get fouled or I'm probably going to foul. Harper is like, no, I'm going to get up on guys. Like I'm good. If I see this guy calling for a screen, I'm going to get right in between those 2 guys. I'm going to force him the other direction. Like there's a lot to love there. The passing has been phenomenal in my eyes. The fact that he can finish around the basket, he made numerous wicked like wraparound plays where he just finished right over the top of guys. I just think this dude carries himself so well on the NBA floor. As soon as he hit it, he was like, yeah, this is home for me. It's working. So very, very excited to see him back, hopefully soon.
Yeah, he was really good. There's some turnover stuff that's concerning. He's like 8 turnovers on just 22 pick and roll possessions, but that's just a learning curve. And I think we kind of knew the on-ball smoothness was going to be there. Right. I said this about him, I think, coming out of Summer League, and it didn't change through the first part of this NBA season. The movement off the ball and just trusting that, no, this will be somebody who can work alongside both Steph Castle and De'Aaron Fox if they want to go that route, and certainly at least one of them. We saw more of it, of course, with Steph Castle. That is super encouraging because what was the talk coming into this season, including on this podcast, where it's, I don't want to play. It's not the one ball card, but it's, well, these 3 guys with none of them are considered dead-eye shooters, and Dylan Harper will probably get there now, it feels like. But he could be the skeleton key that ensures when all 3 of them are healthy, if you want to run those units together, he kind of feels like the one who needs to make the fewest adjustments. It feels like that would come more naturally to him than either of the other 2, and that's big for the Spurs. So just as a score, I think like you said, the passes that he could try. I'm team throw the audacious pass now, and we'll deal with the turnovers, because if you start making those on point, that's just going to open up. And if we get to year 3 or something, and it's just, we need to have a conversation. But especially year 1 and year 2, I'm hashtag just try stuff.
Yeah, try stuff. Yeah. Just try out shit, honestly. That's fine. No, I'm very encouraged about what he's done so far. and again, the limited minutes to me, like he came in and the Spurs were like, let's ease you into it. Like he wasn't even averaging a half of playing time per game before he went down. And he was still at like 14 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, like getting to the foul line a ton. It's just he understands how to maximize the production level in those limited minutes. It feels like he has this mentality, and I think I saw it at Rutgers as well. Like when he's on the floor, he feels this need to be involved in plays. Like he doesn't shy away. He doesn't look. I want to turn this into a verb. He doesn't Patrick Williams himself out, where he's just standing there with a thumb up his ass and does nothing. He's actively engaged in whatever action he can get involved in, which I think is always such a strong sign of future stardom as well.
He has not played a ton. Did you expect Carter Bryant to have any type of role on this team? I think right now you look at it and say, well, between having Julian Champagnie, Harrison Barnes, small, when you're at full strength, technically smaller, just having Devin Vassell, Fox, Castle, Harper, but especially with Keldon Johnson playing like he is now, you would have said, no, there's not going to be a pathway to him getting minutes. Did you expect them to, especially given they have, like, injuries have ripped through this roster?
Right. Yeah. So, as I said in the earlier episodes that we did about the East, where I basically apologized for Con Knipple saying I expected him to be a second-year guy. That is how I came into this year with Carter Bryant, because he was very young in his first season, or his only season with Arizona. He didn't play a whole lot. He's a project. He's more theoretical at this point. I did not think that one offseason and one training camp was going to change that. So he's basically on course for what I'd expected so far, to be honest with you. Like, I just never kind of looped him in as a first-year, highly influential, like, role player.
I was mostly in the same boat. I thought maybe his defense could keep him on the floor, but it turns out, it doesn't turn out. We knew this. If Wemby is going to be healthy and given what Steph Castle can do, you don't necessarily need the defense. Right. I will say, in the very, very few minutes that he's played, he's already had one monster transition block, and there was this possession against the Suns. I think it was earlier this month. He was defending Jordan Goodwin and just swallowed that dude whole. And he is going to be a defensive maniac. And the question for him is, he can move well without the ball. That's not the problem. Is, can he make shots? We don't know about that, but that'll be, if he does get playing time, that's going to be the question. He is, what you said at the top of this podcast, though, I would already say he's an above average. We have not seen enough of him, and that's an above average defender. So these rookies are coming in. You look at CMB, you look at Cooper Flagg, you look at just some of these other guys, they're coming in and they feel better defensively, to your point. I wish we could see more of him, but if we see more of him, it's probably because either the Spurs are unfathomably injured or they've fallen out of the playoff race at some point, and you obviously don't want to see either of those things happen.
Right. And we should just conclude the Carter Bryant segment by wishing him a happy birthday tomorrow. He's turning 20 years old. Happy birthday.
On Thanksgiving? Carter. Look at him.
Yeah. November 20. Look, I'm Danish, man. I don't know jack about Thanksgiving other than, it's basically a genocide that you guys are celebrating. But, like, November 26th is his birthday. So if that's when you celebrate Thanksgiving, yeah.
Happy birthday to Carter Bryant. Then my pick now, where should we go? This is tough. Let's do the Pellies. Having some things happening.
Good shout. Yeah.
They have
before you start, I'm actually going to ask you, I'm going to put you on the line here. Who's the better rookie, Jeremiah Fears or Derik Queen?
Ooh. So aesthetically, the answer should be Fears. But I think when you start to dig into the results of what they're going to do, it's Derik Queen, just because if you look at the Pelicans, the way they move, when when he's being used as a hub, it's just different. It's in the same vein of Jokic and Alperen Şengün, to where the players are just moving around him differently. And the other thing, let's go ahead and start with Derik Queen here. He has Zion playing off the ball more when they're together. There was the game against the Bulls I was watching, and Zion, they basically run like a mid-post pick and roll. It was like a mid-range pick and roll. Zion sets a screen for him in the mid-post, mid post and then like sprints to the rim and it turns into an alley oop. And it's just, that's a fun tandem. But the idea of Zion not having, like, those are plays to where Zion's body's not being put through the ringer. And they're different types of playmakers, because what do we know about Zion? He's kind of closer to the Russell Westbrook type of playmaker, where it's this force of nature going downhill. That's how he's going to generate his advantages. Derik Queen is more of a finesse guy, or is going to use complicated footwork to create those advantages, or pass from a standstill. The passing is just, I want to see more of it. I understand that there's other mouths to feed on the roster, though, of course. I think he's been great. He's actually impressed me. You would, maybe great is a stretch, but you look at, it would be awesome if he had some more perimeter efficiency. The three ball is just not there right now. He is shooting 11 of 19 on floaters and 49.3% on drives, and it doesn't really feel like he's getting deep enough on his drives yet, so those might be good harbingers. He's just a little too mid-range heavy at the moment for me. But defensively, I've been actually impressed with his activity, and I know that Willie Green was using him more aggressively than James Borrego was probably going to. In the short and long term, that's probably better. He probably needs to be a guy who's in drop. But, man, he intercepted an entry pass against the Nuggets on Jokic. Like, he just has really active hands. And so I wouldn't mind seeing them mix in aggressive coverages with more sort of base defensive coverages. And I do believe I guess more of as a fundamental rim protector, not someone who's going to make a ton of reads as the helper or chase down guys and swat away shots. He can be a standstill rim protector. He's only 6'9", and his defensive footwork can be all over the place. But if you can say that about him, opponents are shooting 5.7% worse at the rim when he's on the floor in general, like the entire teams. That's sort of just an interesting subplot to this, because if he can do this stuff now, for the most part, maybe foul a little bit less, of course, that's a really good sign for the future when you're looking at, well, how do we build a defense out around this guy?
So I really like Derik Queen, and that's a necessary precursor for what I'm about to say. The baby Jokic stuff is such bullshit. We need to stop putting that on him. It's so unfair. It is so, like, I know that you're saying it's sort of in jest. Like, I know what you're trying to say, but, like, this has become a whole thing.
When did I call him Baby Jokic?
Oh, you didn't call him Baby Jokic. You said Jokic-esque, right? You described something with the passes.
I said players move around him differently, like Jokic and Shane.
Like Jokic. Okay, my bad. But, like, the Jokic stuff is out there, and I fucking hate it. I hate it because I think it's putting so much pressure on a 20-year-old young man who, at the same time, he's already dealing with the pressure of Joe Dumars making those two trades and making him like the linchpin of those trades. Also, I think the comp is wrong. I think it's the wrong player that is being used for him. The more I watch him play, Dan, the more he reminds me of DeMarcus Cousins. Just the way that he moves, the way that he actually scores, the way he handles the ball, like getting from a dribble drive position into scoring position, the way he passes, like Bookie was a super underrated passer as well. I think that's the comp for me. Whenever I watch Derik Queen play, that's the player that comes up in my head. It's Cousins.
That's better than Jokic for sure. I didn't know the Jokic comparisons were going around in that vein. I know DeMarcus Cousins was nimble-footed for his size, but Derik Queen moves more like a wing than Cousins ever did. But then you look, and Derik Queen at 6'9" kind of is what a wing would be in the league. So that Cousins is a way better. I don't know if there would even be a better one out there, but Cousins just felt he had more of that brute force nature in him than I think that Derik Queen does. But yeah, this is definitely closer, at least when you're looking at it as an on-ball creator and scorer. He's closer to Cousins than a Jokic.
And like that's not a bad comp either. Like before he went down and like really
with the Achilles,
that dude was overpowering and highly dominant. I mean, that was a guy who was draining several triples per game. He was getting to the foul line a ton. He was grabbing a ton of rebounds, was averaging like 5 assists, scoring 25 points per game. Like, he was a freaking all-star. But like, so I think it's important to also just put it, and the reason I'm mentioning it, you know, the Jokic stuff, like, just take a look at Basketball Reference. Already there in the nickname section, Baby Jokic. And like you hear it. It's just like, ease up, guys. Like, ease up. I hate it because he's just not that advanced of a playmaker as Jokic. We're like, who is?
So, as our resident fan of hyperbole, I don't mind it. I think if you're using it if that's the bar against which he is now going to be judged, that's where it's unfair. But if you just want to get excited about Derik Queen and say, he's like, what if Akeem Olajuwon and Nikola Jokic had a baby? I'm all for that stuff just early on because it's funny. It gets to a point where it's grating if you're actively penalizing him because he's not that, for sure. Right.
I don't want that to be put on him because, like I said before, he already has to carry the Joe Dumars traits, and I hate that for him. I really genuinely hate that for him because I think it's so important to support young players. That was completely out of his control. He did not ask to be like the centerpiece of all this. He never asked about that, and everyone is like, "Well, Derik Queen better be good then." Like, come on, give the guy a break. He's 20 years old. Jesus. So this is all a long way from me saying I'm on the Derik Queen, bandwagon. I love it. Give me everything about Derik Queen. Just don't put the extra level of expectations upon him. I think it's so unfair. Let's allow him to develop within his own pace. Please and thank you.
It's just never going to happen because of the trade. As I think that this podcast, your podcast, other podcasts will distinguish between that move and the player that he becomes, but he's always just going to be inextricably linked to that. And maybe that's also part of the impulse for saying baby Jokic is the stakes are already just so high, so we might as well just increase
why
them,
not?
Apparently. Now, I have 3 follow-up questions about this.
Okay, go ahead.
What do you make of the shooting? He's at about 78% from the foul line. He has been god-awful from 3. Do you see this as someone who could develop as – it doesn't have to be high volume, but, we trust him to hit set jumpers?
So you're asking a good question there because I'm still not
Don't
settled.
seem so surprised. Oh, my
No,
gosh,
that's a good – no, you ask good questions generally, but you're catching me a little bit on this one because I'm still not settled within myself to where – because I love the stroke from the free throw line. The 3, I don't like the shooting mechanics. It's like he's extending himself a little further than what he's comfortable with. But I do respect the fact that he's taking them. And as I said at the top of the program, I also like that he's taking those shots without hesitation. I think that's a great, great encouraging sign. But I'm curious in regards to if he keeps missing, right? Is that going to affect his confidence? Is he going to start second guessing himself when he's taking threes? Or is he capable of going through a whole year where he's saying, look, I'm going to take a 3 or 2 per game because that's what I need to do for my own development. And if I'm going to end up shooting 10% over the course of my rookie season on them, so be it. If he has that mentality, good for him. Genuinely, that would be great because that's what's necessary. But personally, I think he's a year away, maybe a year and a half, 2 years away from really being a 3-point shooter, someone who should take them with high regularity. But at the same time, I fucking respect what he's doing because he hears the noise. I've been saying it for half a year now. No 3, no D guy. That's not exactly encouraging, as a lottery pick. And he's like, hey, you know what? I'm going to do my best defensively. I'm also going to try to get that 3. I respect that, Derik Queen. I fucking respect that. He's trying to turn the entire narrative around, and I respect it. So I don't care what he ends up shooting. I just want him to take that shot again and again and again, as long as it doesn't affect his confidence level. But I will say the mechanics need work from out there.
I honestly don't know how to feel about it either. I do trust him to kind of score from the DeAndre Ayton, Isaiah Hartenstein range. I think that the mid-range game, even the long mid-range game will come along. And like we said with the floater stuff, we've seen some of that already working.
Yeah.
Defensively, I think he's been better than you had said people were calling him no 3, no D.
Oh, I did too. I'm guilty of that too.
He's definitely no 3. At least they're not going in.
Yeah.
He's really not no D. But I do wonder, this was my other question, what's the ideal type of front court partner for him? It's fun watching him play with Zion Williamson. I want to be clear. That is not the ideal front court partner for Derik Queen.
So to me, he feels like, defensively speaking, like a little bit better than prime Nikola Vucevic. And, people will say, Booch, like, he's a shitty defender. Yeah, now that he gotten significantly older and slower, yeah, he was actually pretty decent in Orlando. Like, he understood angles. He knew he wasn't going to be a major shot blocker. So what he wanted to do was deter players from taking a lot of shots. So, like, he would rotate in at the same time. I feel that's sort of what we're seeing with Derik Queen right now. I don't hate that. I don't think he's going to be someone who ends up being, quote unquote, a great defender, like a generational defender whatsoever. So if we put him into that kind of, player archetype, a prime Nikola Vucevic defender, then you ask yourself, like, what is the type of defender you need alongside a prime Nikola Vucevic? And is that a Jaren Jackson Jr.? Is that like an in prime Aaron Gordon, like who Vooch actually played with? Like,
yeah, Aaron Gordon's a good one. I had been thinking about Jaren Jackson Jr. I'd been thinking about OG Anunoby would have been my priors.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
And I think now after watching him, you want someone from that mold, but I don't think they need to be as good.
Right.
To where if it was Keegan Murray, who's been really good defensively when he's healthy, but he's not OG Anunoby, he's not Aaron Gordon. Even if it was Jalen Johnson, maybe that's a little too light. But and those are all good players. This is not, you can't just find Jalen Johnson. That's not what I'm trying to say. But you don't need an all defense caliber 4 or 5 next to him.
Correct.
For at least for your baseline defense to work, is my very early impression. We have not talked about Jeremiah Fears yet.
Yeah.
I don't know how you felt about him coming out of the draft. I was not a Jeremiah Fears guy. He turned me in Summer League. He has continued to turn me ever since. The 3-point shot can still be shaky, but 36.4% on self-created threes, that is money. He was higher on catch and shoots earlier in the year. He's down to 36.8%, but that gives you confidence that he can be an above average or average set shooter. He's still shooting over his percentages have come down over the past couple of weeks, but he's still shooting over 50% on nearly 13 drives per game, which he's another guy where when you look at the volume, when you look at just the level of defensive attention he commands with his live dribble, if you're going to shoot over 50% on drives at that volume per game, and by the way, he's not even playing 30 minutes a game. So 13 drives or 30 minutes per game is insane. The shooting at the rim, this is per Cleaning the Glass, has dipped below 58%, and he's not drawing a ton of fouls. I honestly don't care about either of those things because I just think that they're going to come. His on-ball speed and handles are insane. And I would also say the defensive playmaking, he's pretty frenetic at points when it comes to denying the ball when he's guarding away from it. And he's really good at generating steals if he's playing the cutting lanes. This is, to me, when I watch him, I want to make it clear, with at least the finishing around the rim, the handle, I see, what if Kyrie Irving was more of a defensive playmaker? That's a terrible comp because Fears is not the shooter that Kyrie has basically always been, but he just has those daring do handles and then the types of finishes that he can attempt around the basket. I am way more in on the Jeremiah Fears experience than not only I expect it to be, but I expect it to be relative to this Pelicans situation, to where I think you look at this roster and say, it's not really optimized for Jeremiah Fears' strengths, and yet he's still been, relative to expectations to me, he's been really good.
He's been good. I'm actually curious why you're not a guy who, you weren't a Jeremiah Fears guy is kind of what you said going into the season or at least last year in college. What would, like, outside of the shooting? Only the shooting?
It's just, those are the red flag types for me. It's always kind of why I was more, I don't want to say disenchanted, but Ja Morant, I've never been, I think he was transcendent at his peak, but I always just kind of wondered if the jumper's not going to come along, what does he become? And I tend to, I can move on my opinions, especially if they're going to try on defense, which I think we've seen that from Fears. Yeah. But he's kind of just, I don't know. I love the aesthetic. So I go off vibes. And so, like, Ja Morant is entertaining in part because of his aesthetics, but Fears shooting the ball better from 3 than I would have expected in those play situations has helped a ton. But it's why, so coming out, this is a great discussion because you weren't so much of a Trey Johnson guy. I inherently believe more in those archetypes scaling to having a successful NBA career than I do someone like Fears, because it feels like he needs to prove this really important skill. And then I probably didn't trust whether his finishing was going to be elite enough to say, well, we know he can do this one thing. Now here I am sitting looking at the percentages, and it's all right. Like, yeah, he's decidedly below average at the rim right now, but no, he's just going to be fine.
Right. 2 questions. One, did you also struggle with Tyrese Maxey back in the day? Because he came into the league with not a reputation of being a shooter, and now obviously he is. Was that because I made that mistake with Tyrese Maxey? I was skeptical when he came into the league. I was like, he didn't shoot well. Like, I don't think necessarily he's going to be as clean cut a fit, yada yada yada. But it was the motor. It was like, as soon as he started just displaying the ridiculous motor that he had, it was like, okay, you know what? Screw it. I made a mistake. With Fears, I struggled initially with the 3-2, not because I actually thought he was a bad shooter, but like he just took bad shots, right? Like he was a guy who would take so many very, very long pull-ups over the course of last season in college, where I was like, that's just a bad shot selection. Do I trust that going into the NBA?
And now Jordan Poole's his teammate? What is
right?
What could go wrong?
But I never questioned the motor. And that's why, like, every single time I watched him play, I was like, you know what? That 3-point concern, that just began to fill less and less in my head. It just sort of like, yeah, okay, you know what? He'll figure it out. Like, the motor's there. He's basically a bunch of clay, and you can just sort of create him as you want to. He's just too quick, too strong, which sounds ridiculous when he's like, he weighs what, 175 or something, but like,
he has the strength that sort of belies his
right,
body type.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I trusted his touch too, because when he would get into like that mid-range area in college as well, and he would pull up, you saw, like, those were NBA moves. Like, those were like, oh, I'm going to snake the pick and roll. I'm going to get into the foul line area. I'm just going to pull up on guys. It was like, look, like that. We're seeing like at least 2 or 3 like legit NBA moves from a shot selection perspective every single game at least. And we're seeing like the playmaking, we're seeing the rebounding, we're seeing the athleticism as well. So that was something that I never really was too concerned about. And the second question for you is the fact that his shot selection was bad in college, but the fact that he was still a decent shooter when he took, quote unquote, normal shots. Was that baked into your concern? The fact that he just took those outrageous jumpers?
Well, so I think no. It actually, the bigger thing was having questions about what would the shooting look like at the NBA level, and then is this somebody who could, like, the other player type that disenchants me is these guards who can't be wings, but they can't be point guards. And so basically 2 guards where it feels like that position doesn't exist, at least in proliferation, as much.
Yep.
And to me, I still don't know if he can drive the offense as a playmaker, but because he's just so quick on ball and the defensive, like when you look at how many bodies are being drawn to the ball when he's getting downhill, he's going, as they get better shot makers and even better cutters around him, it's just going to be easier. And I think if you have pairing him with sort of like, not to bring back Jokic, but the way Jamal Murray is paired with Nikola Jokic, I think Jamal Murray is the better passer than Fears. Right. Let me make it clear. But to be the second Derry playmaker on your team as the starting primary guard, that feels more so well within his reach. And so those were the 2 things that they were red flags for me. And as of right now, they're not red flags anymore.
So the Pelicans got Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray in this draft is what I'm hearing. Okay.
Well, they might have gotten better than just Jamal Murray, but defensive playmake the way that Jeremiah Fears does. Maybe like playoff super healthy Jamal Murray.
Oh God. Yeah.
I do want to shout out, because I did watch some film on him. Micah Peavey is a defensive psychopath, and he's incredibly tough to screen. They had him guarding Wemby for like an actual stretch at one point when they played the Spurs. I do not know if he could shoot, and if I had to guess, the answer is probably going to be no. And that's kind of but he is just defensive freneticism. I do not have any Hunter Dickinson's thoughts, though, so I apologize.
That's fair.
Did you want to take us to another team / player?
Well, player, primarily, because I don't really want to talk about this team too much. Whenever I do, I start being
can I
critical.
guess?
Yeah, you
can. I guess then the Grizzlies?
Yeah. We need to talk about Cedric Coward and only Cedric Coward. Man, look.
Well,
is
we
this
just did 20 minutes on the Pelicans. I want to know what other national podcast is doing that without focusing solely on the trade that Joe Dumars made.
Well, I mean, we did touch on it.
I said solely.
Okay,
solely.
fair enough.
We focused on the return of the trade, which was Derik Queen, but...
So did we find the new era Mikal Bridges in Cedric Coward? Because...
Well... Draymond Green disagrees. He thinks that, and this is...
Oh, you were never allowed to start a sentence that way.
No, so his response, this is... Well, I should say this. I don't listen to Draymond Green's podcast, but the clips that I see going around are not as insightful as the comments he made about Cedric Coward that seem over the top and wrong. He thinks Cedric Coward is the next Kawhi Leonard. But the way that he mapped it out and said, Kawhi couldn't do this, he couldn't shoot like Cedric Coward when he came into the league. Cedric Coward maybe can't defend like Kawhi could now, but like that evening out. But the answer he gave was just so in depth. And if this was Draymond Green's podcast, I would listen to Draymond Green's podcast. I think you saying Mikal Bridges or even someone else in that vein makes more sense because I don't see and we didn't see this with Kawhi, to be clear, coming in, the primary shot creation like type from Cedric Coward right now.
Yeah, I'm the Kawhi. Okay, Kawhi is a hell of a pull there. Okay, especially for someone who's 22.
Remember when Gary Harris was going to be Kawhi 2.0? That was this is
wait what? No, I don't remember that. Gary Harris is 6'4". What
in 538? It was why Gary Harris. I think it was Chris Herring, who's a spectacular writer, went through the data.
Chris.
And Gary Harris was having It was a great article. But like we just get caught up in these players are having career seasons or doing a certain thing, and so we just throw these comps out there.
What if
Cedric Coward? What if Cedric Coward is both Mikal Bridges and Kawhi Leonard?
like is he stuck between the middle of them, or is he both at the same time?
He's both at the same. He's the best version of both Kawhi and Mikal Bridges.
My God! Okay, so basically he's a Kawhi Leonard who actually plays. That's what he is, because if he's a combination between Kawhi and Mikal Bridges, he plays 82 games every single year.
Well, and he plays with pace, too. Okay. Kawhi's not really going to juice the pace either.
All right. To turn serious, though, hell of a pull by the Memphis Grizzlies. And, this is what they can do. This is where I love them, being able to just find these guys in the middle of the first round, even later in the first round. Like, they just find guys. It's always the top of the draft that becomes a little bit tough for him. But, like, Cedric Coward is awesome. He is going to be, one of those 3-and-D guys who we all look at over the next 10 years and go, good Lord, like, he would fit in so well at insert every single team in the NBA here. Like, he's just so plug and play.
Yeah, what team would he not work on?
Yeah, exactly. Right?
The Kings probably, because they're but he might be so good that maybe
he might
he'd work
fix
out
the Kings. Look, serious question. You're joking. If you replace DeMar DeRozan with Cedric Coward right now, the Kings are a better basketball team.
That's not. That's more about.
About what?
Yes, but that's just not spicy, I guess. Because first of all, the Kings are overloaded with non-wings, even though Doug Christie thinks that they're not.
Right. My point is, though,
good.
DeMar's good. DeMar's super talented. Here's a guy who's, obviously Coward is too, but he's not as well rounded. Like, his skills are primarily, two factors, but he's going to fix stuff because he's not high usage. Like, this dude is going to be a winning player, and I just hope the Grizzlies understand what they have on their hands.
They're starting him now.
Yeah.
So that must mean that they do. Yeah, I mean, my question would be, how good or valuable can you be if you're not going to, if you have to be the second or third option on offense? And even the way he plays offense now, he probably needs to be more of like a third option. And he's a rookie. This could still develop. But if the self-creation doesn't come, he's had to guard some really tough assignments on the defensive end. The shooting has been just incredible by and large for the entire season. He's shooting really like sub 38% on drive, so that's a little bit of a concern there. But I think if you just want someone who's plug and play, and we've seen he's been able to move like when he does have the ball in his hands with it, I don't know what his ceiling is. I know that we've thrown names around. Mikal Bridges feels more fair than Kawhi Leonard, but even that is Mikal Bridges was always
okay. I have another one
still,
for you, which you're
okay,
gonna love. His top tier ceiling is Toumani Camara with a more stable offensive game.
So you don't, but that would imply that you don't have high expectations for if he could do anything on the ball.
Well, not necessarily like that.
I mean, Toumani Camara can do the attack closeout stuff, but that's really
Sure.
the extent of it.
Right, but I'm saying a more nuanced offensive game. Like, I don't think Howard necessarily is going to be someone who you can give the ball to and say, go make a play. Because we also have to be realistic. He came into the league as an older rookie. He's 22 already. He started the season at 22. So, like, I think we're a little closer to, like, his prime, his ceiling. And even if he doesn't have the on-ball chops, like a Toumani Camara with a more efficient and higher volume offensive game, is that not a $30 million player, honestly?
No, it is. And then look, he's a willing ball mover.
Yeah.
Isn't going to, on his drives, he's not shooting well, but he's not going to turn the ball over a ton. And just, the thing I come back to, and this is, I'm just going to continue, I guess, spotlight your point from the top of the podcast about rookies being better defensively. Even when he was coming off the bench, just the guys that he had to line up against without really having any help, being left to his own devices, Cade Cunningham, Cooper Flagg, Devin Booker, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yeah.
That's bonkers. And so I'm with you. I just struggle with his ceiling in a good way. Is that I think whatever we set it at, where it's either going to be too ambitious or not ambitious enough, because if you start throwing, and like, is OG Anunoby, does that make sense? Or he's not really going to do, he's not like the 5 position guy, so that's tough.
I'm going to stick with Toumani Camara with a more consistent three-pointer.
Mikal Bridges feels closest.
Okay.
Just Mikal Bridges, higher volume from 3. I think would be feels close. It feels close. Maybe you
which
don't
is
trust
what
me,
we've been aching for like 7 years. Yeah.
Look, the version of Mikal Bridges we're watching this season, I will take 11 times out of 10.
Yeah.
He is great.
Yeah.
But so do you think that's, I guess this all comes to the head of the Grizzlies in their direction, whatever it is, what level of cornerstone is he? Is this someone where it's, they should trade Ja and rebuild around Cedric Howard and Jaren Jackson Jr.? Or in theory, if Ja Morant is going to normalize at some point and stay healthy, Cedric Howard is almost in the best spot because he is kind of that third wheel.
So, yeah, you don't build around Cedric Howard. That very important to me that you don't do that, because like as many superlatives that we're throwing out here, he's not that dude. He's not someone you just tear down your organization for. Now, would I prefer to see him with a point guard who's, I guess we can just say it, more mature than Ja Morant, someone who's more disciplined than Ja Morant? Yeah. Like if the Hawks and Grizzlies were to do my, pretty simplistic Ja Morant for Trae Young trade, that's one where I think Cedric Howard would be super interesting next to Trae, for example. Ja specifically is not someone I would like to pair him with.
Well, so what is it? So throw the stuff you're talking about, leadership.
Okay, 3-point. The lack of 3-point shot, like the lack of spacing.
Okay, I was just curious as to why you like Trae better than Ja as a
gravity.
Okay.
For sure, the gravity. Also, I think Trae's a better playmaker. I think he has this knack. Yeah, I think Trae has a knack for finding guys, especially outside the 3-point line, a lot better than Ja is. I understand that every Grizzlies fan is going to throw this stat at us again where whenever Ja Morant plays, they win 60% of the games. And like, yeah, I hear you, but at the same time, you got to look at like how a team is built, ultimately speaking. And I think I would want a point guard who is more playmaking oriented and has more spacing capabilities if I want to optimize the play of Cedric Howard. So I would want someone else than Ja Morant. I do think the Jaren Jackson Jr. Cedric Howard fit is actually pretty decent. Cedric Howard obviously is going to take over the rebounding department because he's better at it than Jaren Jackson Jr. And that's not even.
I should have known that was coming.
I mean, it's not even a lie, Dan. Look at the numbers.
No, I'm just saying.
Kidding.
I'm just saying you could have commented on Cedric Howard's rebounding rather than
I could.
Jaren Jackson.
Could I really? We're talking about Memphis. Could I? I'm contractually obligated to bring it up whenever I have a chance. No, I do like the defensive potential of that duo, at least.
Yeah, the more I know I'm focusing too much on your comps for it, but so he leads the Grizzlies in points scored in transition just by a mile. I think the Mikal Bridges comp is probably best, and that's Mikal Bridges didn't turn into a more of an on-ball guy until what? Like the final part of his leg in Phoenix?
Yeah.
Right? And he was an older rookie too, right? Yeah. So that might be the comp. Cedric Howard is, if you were doing rookie of the year rankings right now, it's probably Knipple followed by Flagg or Coward, right? I know Edgecombe is there.
Oh,
that's a tough top four.
I had not, because for whatever reason, I had just not been thinking like rookie of the year vote.
I'll ask you this then.
Okay.
I know you haven't thought about this because I've only thought about it 3 seconds ago. If you were redrafting this draft class, Cooper Flagg still goes 1.
Yes.
Where does Cedric Cowherd go?
Well, he doesn't go 2 because that's still Dylan Harper. I think Knipple then goes 3 at this point. Edgecombe, that's harsh though, because Edgecombe, I feel there's more there still. Does he go 5?
Over Bailey?
Yeah. That's also tough.
I would be shocked if he got past 6. Yeah. And I think there might be a team that would be willing to bet that he will have a better career than at least one of. And I don't know if I'm falling in this camp, so this isn't necessarily take. But it wouldn't shock me if a team decided to take him over one of Knipple, Edgecombe, or Bailey, if not more.
That's where the age kills me a little bit, though. Like,
yep,
But I hear you. Like, in terms of like the level of play that he has, and the fact that what's attractive about him is the fact that he's plug and play, and I think that is why teams are also prioritizing that type of player. Guys who can just come in and shoot off the catch, who can integrate themselves without having a huge usage rate. That's a tough word for me. They're just so damn like valuable for NBA teams. And so the fact that he's not someone who will demand the ball to that extent, I could see like a handful of teams go, yep, that's exactly what we need. That is what we love about it. If he was 20 years old instead of 22, then we have a conversation for 2.
You're probably right. I still probably just go Dylan Harper. Because even if Cedric Howard is 20, I don't know if I'm looking at him and saying, oh, he could be the North Star for my rebuild.
No, I gun to my head, I would still go Dylan Harper. But I mean, the thing about me with draft guys as well, it's when they're that old, I never buy into this whole mentality of, oh, that player, because he's 22 or 23, is automatically more NBA ready. Oh, really? Should we check in on Nique Clifford in Sacramento? Should we?
We will in a little bit.
Okay, great. But yeah, no, he's great. Is kind of my point about Cedric Coward.
You picked the Grizzlies. I'm going to pick, it's the Jazz, but it's really Ace Bailey and Walter Clayton Jr., who we'll get to as well. So Ace Bailey didn't have the best start to the season, and some of the efficiency numbers can still be rough. But he is, since entering the starting lineup, Mort, shooting 69% on 2s and 38% on 3s. He's still shooting pretty low on his drives, but he's 71% conversion rate per cleaning the glass at the rim. He could stand to get there more, which I think that's, if he's going to attack off the dribble, he has some of these like baseline drives where he's just going to yam it when he gets to the basket. I want to see him be more physical in that regard. But, and we kind of talked about this at the top, just as an example, I have been really impressed, especially lately, with how hard he's working just to fit in. And it's running the floor in transition. The offensive rebounding, like he works for that too. We saw it in Summer League. He's still continuing to do that now. They've insulated him a little bit more defensively than I thought they were going to, but he's been active for the most part around there as well. But they've also, there was when they were playing the Lakers the other night, a game they almost won. He had a massive shutdown stop on Luka where he stuck with him for basically the entire possession, then was able to poke the ball away. You look at someone, the way Ace Bailey is able to move laterally for someone his size, as he continues to get stronger, I think that's going to be a really scary defender. My one complaint, and I try not to complain a ton about higher profile rookies, and this is probably more of a Jazz thing. I think that they need to do more to make him at least a semi-focal point. Again, I love the stuff. He's coming around screens well off the ball. He's lifting up from the corner or relocating if he needs to exceptionally well. He's run fewer than 10 pick and rolls. He's used fewer than 10 ISO possessions. I'm not saying those need to be crutches, but I would like to see more of Ace Bailey in those types of situations. Maybe that's something the Jazz do post All-Star break when they feel more comfortable with him. But after kind of a start where it was, he's not in the starting five and these performances aren't great, I think that he's kind of proven. For anyone who is concerned that they took him where they did, he's already alleviated a bunch of that with his play over the past few weeks.
I agree with everything you just said for one particular reason as well. Getting him more involved in on-ball stuff and getting him downhill is also going to put so much more pressure on the defense to make a decision because he is long, he is athletic. He's not a guy you want to see attack the rim. And currently, and this is a ridiculously low number, he's played 366 minutes in the NBA so far. He's taken 19 free throws. So, like, the free throw generation stuff, I don't even think that so much of that is on him. It's more the setup, like him being sort of a bailout option. He kind of reminds me a little, or not he reminds me, the role that he plays reminds me a little bit of how the Kings used Keegan Murray the first year.
Ooh,
where it was, it was not exactly like to the full extent, like because they used Keegan almost exclusively as like a spot up 3-point shooter. And I think the Jazz are trying to do maybe a little bit more with Bailey, but not a lot. And so he's become this bailout option instead. And what have we seen from Keegan Murray since that rookie year? Have we seen him get to the foul line a whole bunch? No, not really. I think those reps are so important early in a player's career. So I would make it a major emphasis for them to get him the ball, put him in screen and roll situations, get him downhill. Because if Ace Bailey's primary calling card is going to be scoring, which, let's be real, that is a thing. That is how we gauged him all last year while at Rutgers.
And there are just moments, too, off ball, on ball. He's very T-Mac-y in a good way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that is going to be his. That's going to be. I'll be shocked if it's not his calling card.
Well, okay. Then let me ask you this question: if you're going to be a primary scorer, or at least one of the primary scorers on a team, can you do that if you're taking like 2 free throws per game?
I'm trying to think of who's the guy that would be driving a really good offense or is the number one option that you look and sit. He doesn't get to the foul line enough. There aren't a ton of those because when you look at all the best ones, Luka, Giannis, Jokic, I mean, even Steph.
Yes.
With that, and like Steph would be the blueprint for. He's not going to dominate the ball, but he still has the ability to draw fouls. Yeah, is there one? Who am I missing?
No,
I have to be missing somebody.
There isn't a leading scorer. There isn't someone out there putting up 25.
Tatum at one point, maybe.
Tatum was still at least 4 per game. I'm talking right now. Right now, Ace Bailey is attempting 1.1 free throw attempts per game in 21 and a half minutes. Like, even if scaling that up to per 36, we're talking about 1.9. That is such a ridiculously low number. And again, I'm not putting that on at his feet. I think that's a structural thing in Utah that they need to fix. But it's just something to keep an eye on, because it's been a big issue of mine, again, with Sacramento not trying to dig into that part of Keegan Murray's game. Like, Keegan is 6'8", 240. Are we going to sit here and say he can absorb contact coming closer to the rim? Bullshit. Of course he can. Ace Bailey is an agile 6'10" and supremely athletic. If he's just going to stand around the 3-point line for the most of his career because the Jazz says that's the best idea, then you're not using him in the right manner. Like, I'm not trying to go yeah, go ahead.
How I'll push back a little bit in the sense of, especially because wasn't one of the questions for Ace Bailey coming in, could he do the ancillary stuff consistently or in higher volume? So at least earlier on, the way we would say, let Cedric Howard be a good example. Well, maybe the Grizzlies should just test him on the ball to see if he can do these things. Is this sort of a way of saying, well, let's see if Ace Bailey can handle a more streamlined, less central role?
Right.
There's value in that to me, is what I'm getting at. Sure,
but you want him to become more than that, right? Ultimately speaking.
For sure, but we're like, I'm with you in the sense that I want to see more of it, but when you're fewer than 20 games into his career, I think I kind of get, especially when you were still trying to figure out, well, who's going to lead our offense, and you had the Isaiah Collier injury to open up the season that complicated that. I understand it a little bit. I would like to, again, I want to see more, but he's been promoted to the starting lineup. Like, we know that he's starting now. Yep. So I think that those steps will come. I don't view it, I guess, as big of a transgression at this stage as you do, even though I do agree that I absolutely want to see more of what you're talking about.
Right. And again, it's just to clarify once again, I'm not putting it at his feet. I think
by the way, some of it is. I think he's been a little bit, and I don't know if this is an organizational mandate, but too passive at points to where you can see a hesitance even on some of his catch and shoot threes. Even he can't decide. He catches the ball, decides to drive, and then it's, oh no, wait, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to go back to a step back or get rid of the ball.
Right.
So the onus, especially when you're looking at how deep can he get when he is attacking with the ball, the consistency there, some of that I do think is on him.
All right, that's fair. That is fair. I generally think that players respond to the type of roles that they get by an organization, and sometimes they look over their shoulder.
Fair
like,
too.
I've been told to do this. Like, am I allowed to break out of the constraints that I'm in this role?
Well, because the danger is Keegan Murray, though, right? Like, Keegan Murray, I think he's great, but when we were talking about extensions, your question to me was, what is he offensively at this point?
Yeah.
Like, he hasn't been able to do more. We've seen percentages decline, and I blame that, and I still do, on the Kings. And so, yes, if this becomes sort of a habitual pattern for Ace Bailey to where they've decided to use him as a complimentary player, and then what was happening with Keegan Murray, it wasn't even that he was a complimentary player, it was that his usage was fluctuating wildly because of the way that they jumbled the pecking order. Yeah, I think that's totally fair to wonder. My guess would be, if we're having this conversation after the All-Star break and we're still wondering what does it look like if Ace Bailey has more plays called for him or more on-ball work, then is when I'll sound the alarm bell.
Keegan Murray, by the way, should be noted, 3 games into his season this year, doing pretty well, even if without taking
Kings
a lot
beat
of
the
free
Wolves
throws.
with him.
Yeah. But, I mean, I'm just saying, usually, if you want to end up averaging 24, 25, 26 points, you're probably not doing it by taking 1 to 2 free throws every single game.
No. But you're just taking all threes and making them at a ridiculously high clip.
That too. Well, yeah.
He's shooting. He's 4 of 8, Ace Bailey, on step back threes already. His step back three, I guess, because he's 6'9". Was he listed at 6'9"? He's just so big.
6'9", 6'10".
I have no priors for this. I don't scout these guys while they're like in the middle of school. I just trust it. I have no rationale for doing it. I just trust it.
Oh, by the way, he listed at 6'10". I'm just reminded that is super wrong because he came in, he tested a lot worse than what people thought. He came in like 6'7.25", I think, or something along those lines.
I thought he's listed at 6'10". I thought he was listed at 6'9". That's insane.
Yeah, I think and this is on Basketball Reference, so NBA.com is a lot better at the official heights. But like on Basketball Reference, he's 6'10". That is not true. That is adding a little bit polish.
Yeah, CTG has him at 6'9". You said he's what, 6'7" and change?
I remember, like, I believe he was listed without shoes.
He looks bigger than 6'7", for sure.
Yeah, but like that was without shoes, right? 6'7.25", I think he tested out at. It might have been 6'7.75". I don't remember. Like, there are limits to the details that I remember from pre-draft measurements. But no, I mean, I like where he's at right now because the start of the season was horrendous. So I like the fact that he's picking it up. And of course, now we're going to talk about like your favorite guy in the entire rookie draft.
I wanted to ask you,
Clayton.
I wanted to ask you one more question about Ace Bailey.
All
Do you
right.
have any strong opinions of him on defense or as a passer? The passing's tough because we just talked about his role and he will look for bigs in the pocket already. That's the stuff that I've been unable to formulate a real opinion on for him so far.
I will be completely honest with you and say that that is not something I've even devoted a whole lot of attention to, because when I'm watching the Jazz, I probably should focus more on their defense, but I don't, because I just look at a very young team that is also somewhat intentionally trying to be bad. So I just don't put a lot of stock into it, I think. And without Walker Kessler there, because he's out for the year, I just kind of said, oh, all right, well, they're just going to be bad. And that's on me. I probably should be better at just looking at the individual performances defensively. With the Jazz, I just sort of like, no bother, boop, out of my head. So it's a good shout from your end. I'll start to look a little bit more at Ace Bailey's defensive prowess.
It's similar to offense where I think they need to give him more cracks at
right.
the marquee role type stuff. Walter Clayton, though, coming into the season, I thought that maybe he would be like the best Jazz guard, basically, and that's not been the case. And I also banked on his shooting just being incredible. It has not been incredible so far, under 30% from three. I do think he is one of their better passers. He's still turning the ball over on basically 25% of his pick and rolls, and he's also shooting only 6 of 19 out of the pick and roll right now. He has shot okay out of his drives. I do like him when he's in the center of the floor leading it in transition, even if he can get in the lane. I think the court vision is there. I did have higher hopes for him to start his career, especially with, I guess his minutes have gone up and down a little bit, but I thought this was someone who might start for them. I don't think it's a bad thing that he's come off the bench for all of his 13 appearances, but man, I think I got ahead of my steez too much on Walter Clayton Jr. I don't think he necessarily means he's going to be a bad pro, but I was hoping for a lot more out of him. I think what he has shown, though, is that this is someone who has the vision. Whether the accuracy or the decision-making is always going to be there is a different story.
Is he better than Isaiah Collier?
Well, I mean,
no.
Better as a passer?
Just as a player. I'm not there. So, like, I thought it was very, very optimistic of you to say he might be the best Jazz guard. Like, even over Keontae.
I mean, Keontae George's having a great season. I was just not predicting, especially this level of playmaking. You were predicting this level of playmaking from Keontae George?
Not this level, but, like, he hasn't exactly been clam chowder over the past couple of years.
Keontae George, I was really hyped for him after his rookie season, so I probably overcompensated and was disappointed what we've seen from him so far since then. Especially, even now, the efficiency from beyond the arc just refuses to come along. But he's getting to the foul line a ton. The passing has been there. He's been...
Sir, you're being too critical. The dude came in as a shooting guard and had to, like, on the fly adjust to a brand new position, the most tough position to learn in the NBA. And now,
his shot selection was awful. Can't... I don't know what you're... What are you defending him against, though?
Well, I'm saying that the fact that he came in as a guy who had, like, the green light to do whatever at Baylor, and certainly made use of it because his shot selection was horrid and he was an off guard, like not really having to handle the offense to the same extent. Comes into Utah in year one and is told, you're going to be a point guard. He ended up starting 44 games and he actually did pretty well. Came back last year, and got even better, even if his efficiency sucked. And yes, look, his shot quality isn't great. It probably never will be, but considering what he had to do just in terms of like make that position change and become like a fully fledged starting level point guard, I'm just hella impressed.
Which he has not been until this season. I don't think you can look at it and say that he's been a starting
but he
level
played
playmaker.
a lot of point guards minutes both in his rookie year and sophomore year after all. You got to give him that though.
Yeah, but I don't know what you're defending him against. I'm just saying I was a little bit disappointed that he wasn't better through year because I thought the efficiency would be higher, and even now he's shooting, I guess, 37% or whatever it is on catch and shoot threes. That's fine. He's having a good year, but I thought Walter Clayton, if you were looking at who is the best playmaker, like to lead I thought Walter Clayton had a chance to be it. That I was clearly wrong. I'll totally cop to that. But I also did not see this type of Keontae George leap coming. I did not. I actually didn't even know that the Jazz we're going to give him this type of opportunity. And I wonder how much sort of the way that the opening season played out benefited him. But I mean, like, he's doubled up his like free throws per 36 minutes, basically. It's just, it's nuts.
And hitting it at 91%. Like it's been a strong
53% on twos for some of the twos that he takes is a big deal.
It's amazing what happens when shot quality and maturity sort of starts to align.
Well, there was also the question about his maturity. Didn't he leave the season, talking about how he need to like really focus on mid-range? And it was, what? Like, that's not what this team needs from you at this point. So he came back and he's getting to the foul line more. Like I said, the passing's been in, the patience, the poise on ball has been great. Yeah. Really good season from him. But what are your thoughts on Walter Clayton? I don't know why you turned this into a Keontae Jordan.
No. So Clayton, I always thought coming into this season as well, when he was billed as like not an elite shooter, but coming in as a major shooting prospect, I thought it was overstated considering how he shot the ball at the collegiate level. So I didn't anticipate him coming in and being like a knockdown 3-point shooter right off the bat. I didn't expect this though. He's been struggling, and like, to be fair, sometimes not a player's worth, but I do think a big part of their worth is just sort of being reduced down to, is he making shots or not? And I will give Walter Clayton Jr. this. The shot selection isn't necessarily bad. He's just clanking a shit ton right now. And if he were converting on a higher percentage of them, would we even be having this conversation about disappointment? I don't know. It feels like a lot of this comes down to just make or miss.
You are right, and he's shooting 39% on 0 dribble threes. But I think the appeal of Walter Clayton was that he was going to be able to hit more of those complicated shots.
Right.
Which it still might come along. I was way too high on what his rookie season was going to be, and even the role that I thought Utah might put him in.
I mean, that's fair, but and what doesn't speak to his advantage is that he's also 22. He's an older rookie, so like if he comes in and is, bad right off the bat, there's a chance he can figure it out. But historically, older rookies coming in and having a pretty big curve to become fully fledged rotation players, not a great track record there.
Yeah, I guess that's true. He feels like someone who might catch on later in the season of just getting more of a feel for the speed of the game, because even when he's playmaking, he just gets off the ball. Like, he's not someone who's going to kill the flow of your offense, and I'm always just going to believe in those guys. And we have, well, I guess in theory, we thought we had proof of concept when it came to what the shooting would be. So, but yeah, that's his. I think I thought that I might go into the season looking at, Ace Bailey, because of the role he had, ended up having what would be considered a worse year than Walter Clayton, because Walter Clayton thrived in his role. And really, it's been Ace Bailey doing a lot of the stuff that I had questions whether he would want to do. A lot of the off-ball work with the offense. Would he always be there for the offensive rebounding if his usage wasn't through the roof? So, no, I don't have any major red flags here. I mean, the Ace Bailey thing is the big one, and the Jazz got what appears to be is going to be a very useful player moving forward.
Yeah.
Do you have a next pick?
Do I? Like, if we can go into the Nique Clifford stuff, but is he worth having a big-time discussion about? Oh, well, screw it. Let's have it. An old rookie, going to be 20.
How many times have you said that now?
Yeah, 24. He's going to be 24 in February. That's just ridiculous. So I like some of the defensive chops we've seen. I don't like the offense. I don't understand what his role is going to be at the NBA level, at least offensively speaking. Is he going to be like a catch and shoot 3-point shooter, because that's not historically been his thing? Is he going to be more of an all ball creator, because that looks like that's a little bit optimistic at the NBA level, because in order to get the ball consistently at this level, you have to be really, really good with it. I don't think he is. So I feel like he's sort of stuck, not between positions, but between on ball, off ball. And like, I just don't know where he's going to end up. I think the offensive ceiling is kind of all over the freaking place.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about him. I think that even now with the Kings, he's shown that he can still be a ball mover, so he's not going to gum up your offense.
Yes.
I think even if you end up pigeonholing him into that off-ball role, that he will be an intuitive enough cutter. He's already, I think he's 7 of 7 at the rim this year. That might be a little bit out of date. I just don't. The problem is that I was intrigued more by the on-ball offense watching him in Summer League. I don't have a great feel for it yet. And for as bad as the Kings are, and for as wing light as they are, whether if you want to call Nique Clifford a guard, fine. He's 6'5". Like, he's a borderline wing, especially on this team. Keon Ellis already isn't playing enough. The Sacramento Kings are, with the exception of their win over the Timberwolves, like, they kind of suck. I mean, they're on a 2-game winning streak as we record this. But, like, why? Like, play him. Play him more. This is not, how many games? He's had 1, 2 games, 3 games where he's logged over 20 minutes. 4 games he's logged over 20 minutes, and the last one he got over 20 minutes was on November the 12th in a loss to Atlanta. So I think they need to do more to plumb the depths of his skill set. I'm intrigued defensively because he's already ended up covering some tough guys and held his own. I don't know if he could do that in okay, are we going to start him and play 30 minutes? What does that look like? But I think that he will wind up being a useful secondary offensive player to where maybe you're not having him run the offense, where if you could, someone with his size at 6'5" running the offense is always an asset. But just as a ball mover, when he's going to be in the lane, when he's in transition, someone who will move off the ball in the half court even, the question will be, do you think the efficiency from the perimeter is going to come around? And I think that it will.
Okay. Like, this is all about prediction and
well, you sound skeptical. Is there something you're noticing with the what is the your
well,
big red flag
I'm noticing a guy who has we used it as a verb before, who's Patrick Williamson. Well, Patrick Williamson a little bit out there, just not doing a whole bunch, like just standing around too often when he does have a chance to just change things. Maybe just take that ball when he has the opportunity to say, look, no one's doing something. Let's just get on with it. Let me just make something happen. I think he's being too passive. And that concerns me when you're that old as well. That you're, because he comes in from, what was it, 5 years in college, if memory serves? Like he had those 2 senior years at Colorado State, right? So like he should come in with plenty of hoops experience from the collegiate level. And now he's, like, he looks like an 18-year-old rookie again sometimes, like just going around like, should I attack here? Should I do this? You're damn near 24 years old. Like, you can't afford to wait around that long. Like, I just think he's passive. I don't trust the offense. I don't trust, well, do I trust the playmaker? I guess I do if it's, from the bench. Like, I don't trust him in any starting caliber situation at this point. If he's coming in as a secondary, which is kind of your point as well, do I trust him to just make, be a secondary playmaker off the bench? Maybe, but I need him to balance that with some level of aggressive scoring. Because if you're just standing there, ball watching and looking at everyone else, which I think he does.
Well, I also think I would argue that might be by design or a byproduct of the way that the Kings are built.
Potentially, yeah.
I do think we've seen some of the glimpses when he's been in transition, being able to be a little bit more aggressive, he's drawing fouls in transition. But I don't know that the scope of his, not similar to, but I don't know that the scope of his role has been large enough yet to have any major concerns. Like, yeah, you look at it, he's shooting 17% or whatever it is on wide open threes. That's like a red flag, but it's also one of those red flags where you say that's so low, it's going to come up. If you were looking for him to be a primary on-ball guy, he might be the type of secondary playmaker where you could start him I'm not comparing the two, but in the vein of Derik White, to where it's cool when he's making plays and there's 2 other options, ball handlers on the court, but if you want Derik White to run your entire offense, you might not be in love with that idea, or he's not going to be the most efficient version of himself in that role.
I think, to me, it's the shot volume. He's played 241 minutes. He's taking 56 shots. You say it's by design, which I can understand that to some extent.
By design might be wrong, but it doesn't feel that could be a trickle-down effect of the way that the Kings are built?
Maybe, but at the same time, that is also what concerns me, because on some level, if you're on a bad team, I will always argue that you have a sort of opportunity ahead of you if you're getting rotational minutes, and which he does. Like, he's played 14 games, playing 17 minutes per game. It's not like he's not playing. He's played 241 minutes on the year so far. So it's not like he's only getting 6 or 7 minutes per game.
So you don't think that they should be playing him more?
No, what I'm saying is I need to see him make use of those minutes a little bit more, because if you're playing on a team that's a little bit of a shit show, you have an opportunity that you can grab in some capacity, be that as a ball mover, a playmaker, a shooter, or just saying, hey, you know what, DeMar DeRozan, right now we just don't need you to dribble the ball for 16 seconds before you throw up a contested mid-range. I'm just going to take this ball, not even hold it, just immediately attack off the catch and get to the rim. And go ahead.
I'm going to tell you why I just don't think that works. If you look at his most used lineups, he's playing basically at all times with at least 3 of Dennis Schroeder, Russell Westbrook, DeMar DeRozan, and Zach LaVine. What offense are you taking? What are you seizing in that scenario?
Well, I mean, what I'm saying is that because you're right, he does move the ball, which means he does get the ball as well, right? Like when it's swung around the perimeter, and occasionally I want him to do something else, because the entire Kings offense, I think we can both agree, is extremely predictable. Extremely predictable. He has this unique opportunity of just throwing a fucking wrench into everything and saying, hey, look, here's another layer of it. And look, is that tough to put on a rookie? Yes. But he's almost 24. That's why I'm asking him to do stuff, mature stuff.
Well, it sounds like you're asking him to deviate and hijack the offense.
Slightly, yes, slightly.
I will advocate for him hijacking the offense just to see what happens. I will, if you're saying that he needs to be penalized for not actively hijacking or deviating from the game plan, that's something that I can't get on board with.
But you're right, though. I do want him to hijack it just a little bit, because occasionally
you're right.
Is how
look at the way they were
players
using Sabonis before his injury. This team doesn't make any sense.
There are just players who have to do it in order to get attention upon themselves, and occasionally some team will go, oh, okay, he's got more juice. Like, okay, this might not be the one-to-one example, but Quentin Grimes, after the trade to Philly, basically saying, oh yeah, no, I'm not going to be your 3-and-D darling here. I'm gonna start, dribbling between my legs. I'm gonna start creating looks. I'm gonna start creating 3-point shots.
But he didn't have the type of ball dominance around him at the time because of injuries in Philly that
I know
Nique Clifford has right now.
Well, I mean, he's still, like, when he came. I understand the opportunity there, but at the same time, he decided to do something about it. And Nique Clifford, again, I'm also questioning the talent level, because let's just be real. If you're playing 5 years in college at the same.
Yeah, and he's not explosive. I don't know that he's going to ever create a ton of on-ball separation.
Right.
Yeah, I have questions about him too. We're having, it sounds like, a similar discussion to Keegan Murray all over again, to where you're assigning what I believe is more responsibility to the player for some of the shortcomings or concerns, and I'm putting it more on the team and its roster.
That's fair. That is fair. You know what I think it is for me? It's the Dylan Jones effect, where Jones came in as this all-around guy, but that's not a role the NBA has to offer unless you're like, what?
Invoking a Dylan Jones comp right now.
No, but you catch my drift, bro, right? Like, someone who comes into the league with an all-around game at the collegiate level, like, that's not a role that's available unless you're like a freaking star right off the bat, right? And Nique Clifford had that luxury, in college, because he was the focal point. He was the guy who was the all-around guy. Coming into the NBA and having to become a bit player, that is so tough. It's not always that we see guys make that transition successfully.
It's when I watch him, I feel like he should be able to do it. And I also wonder, though, how inflated are both of our expectations based on what he did in Summer League, where he was actually doing a lot.
I didn't watch Summer League at all.
Okay, well, then I just don't. So you want him to do more, but more realistically, he should be fitting into a role that he's better suited for.
No, I'm saying the circumstances.
Like contradiction here.
No, I'm saying the circumstances, historically speaking, doesn't speak to a player of his ilk being successful at the NBA level. What I am saying is that given that he's actually receiving minutes, unlike a Dylan Jones, for example, who just couldn't get on the floor because, like, what the hell was his role, really? You know, Nique Clifford is playing. And so when you are playing and you are on the floor, make sure that people notice that you are on the floor. I think he's basically someone who tends to grow invisible. And I think that's an issue. Even if you're a bit player, even if you're out there for special purposes, being invisible in a team context is just never a positive in my perspective. But that's, again, I agree with you that it's also the freaking Kings that he could.
Yeah, and it's also, I just think you're overstating how much he plays. Like, he has some games that I think are inflating his totals, but I'm just, look at his game logs. 12,
yeah, all right, that's fair.
9,
that is fair.
8,
Yeah.
11, 7.
I concede that. That is fair. That is fair. And he's played a lot less recently. So I guess my point is just when he's on the floor, I need him to seize a little bit more of the opportunity he's given, after all.
Which maybe there'll be some if they trade one of their bajillion guys that don't make sense, or they're going to turn around and trade for another one of those types of guys, and it will be even more
I still
confusing.
like my DeMar for Kentavious Caldwell-Pope trade. I still like that, just to free up some opportunities here and there.
I hate DeMar and Ja on the same team. I don't get that.
No, well, look, we can talk about the fit for Memphis all day long, but for the Kings at least, they might have to give up something. But look, and look, Ja, is he going to be available? Like, if he's not available, you need someone to handle the ball a little bit. Why not DeMar? That team's going nowhere anyway. It's fine. Screw it.
I'm gonna take us to Will Richard and the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors just keep hitting these picks in the 50s out of the park. Haven't heard as much from Quentin Post this season, but Will Richard looks, I don't want to overstate what he's done, and we're just still so early in the season, but this is getting him at number 56, shooting 48% on spot-up threes. Mort, he is 18 of 21 at the rim. That is 86%. In transition, the two things that the actual points per possession in transition, not sustainable, absolutely insane. 1.6. That's the most among 145 players who have finished as many transition possessions as him. This is the thing that caught my eye more. He is so far out in front of his own team in transition that I think the Warriors end up in transition on plays that they weren't anticipating to be in transition in. And so I looked, their transition frequency off of live rebounds increases by 10.7 percentage points when he is on the floor. Of everyone who has logged at least 250 minutes this season, only Ricochet, I found that interesting, Steph Castle, and Jokic have a larger swing impact on their team's transition frequency. That's, again, Will Richard isn't the one that's jump-starting these possessions in a way that Steph Castle and Jokic might be. He's just so far out in front of everybody else. He's been good defensively for them. He's had to defend real guys. I think he has great hands on the ball. He had one of the cleanest strips of the season just on Devin Vassell trying to do work from the mid-range. And there was, I don't know if you saw, it was one of the games, he had that crazy pickpocket on John Moran who tried to do a flyover dribble or whatever it was, and he just clean swiped it. And the other thing, too, I know we're kind of in the era of, there are these crash zones, these perimeter players are doing more on the offensive glass than we expect. Will Richard is just one of them, apparently. Like, every time I look, I feel like he's tipping a shot back out of the basket or grabbing an offensive rebound. This is just, again, he has played, as we're recording this, in 13 games. This is not a future star. His true shooting percentage doesn't line up with what we're saying about I'm actually looking at the wrong player, so excuse me. He's only played, but he's been so good that I think that this has the chance to be a regular rotation player on a good team in the NBA. I don't know what his ceiling is. Can't really get into that, but I would say as of right now, this feels like more of a caps lock find than Quentin Post was.
The only thing that makes me less enthusiastic about Will Richard is the fact that he scored 21.6% of his total season points in one game. And so I'm not really sure whether I should ignore that and just look at the rest of it because he was so impressive in that 30-point game. I don't know if I can sit there and say Oh yeah, he's at that level as you alluded to. But I will say this: in terms of accepting his role when he's given fewer minutes, he plays the same speed. Whether he's playing 30 plus minutes or he's playing 10, it's the same play. It's the same mentality. It's the same approach, and that is usually the key to success. So I'm encouraged in terms of like the talent level, the production level. I'm just not ready to like commit to something where like he's a big steal, he's a big get. If we go towards the middle of the season and he is still efficient, he is still so calculative in terms of his shot selection, then I'm joining you on the bandwagon.
I don't think he'll never stop being calculative of his shots. Like if he starts deviating, if he does what you want Nique Clifford to do, the Warriors are going to bench him and never play him again.
No. He's what Will Richard is doing right now is a smart play. It's just I usually struggle when guys have this one game that's a huge outlier and just gobbles up so many of their season numbers this early in the year. I'm like, how much can we look at everything else? But like again. This is where, as you said earlier in the show, just in terms of like the eye test, right? Like, what are you looking at? And you're looking at the activity level. You're looking at the approach.
Like it's the 3-point shooting. I think would be the big. That's like that's the game that's going to pump up the outlier stuff there. But in terms of him getting to the basket, flying around in transition, and defending, and just being sneaky on the offensive glass, I think
that he's there. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Probably concerning that he's needed to play as much as he has in Golden State, but that's a different issue.
That's a different discussion. That team makes no sense.
Did you have any other rookies that you wanted to discuss?
I do not. No.
I have a couple more.
Okay.
I think the Clippers might have found somebody in Kobe Sanders. We'll have to monitor it. He's kind of one of the things that have gone right this season. He was someone who was taken at number 50. He can be a little mistake prone, has turned the ball over on 33% of his transition possessions, which isn't great. But he's also sometimes the only Clippers player in transition. And so I feel like that needs to count for something. He shot the 3-ball well enough. He's being inflated, propped up 46% from the corners and 29% on arc threes. He's another one where he keeps the ball moving like Nique Clifford, and he's a willing passer on drives, even if it's not going to translate to anything. I had this clocked, too, from our friend Justin Russo. Kobe Sanders is the first LA Clippers rookie to log at least 130 minutes over a 5-game span since Shea and Landry Shamet in 2019.
Okay.
So
yeah,
he's going to be traded, I think, is the moral of that story. And the other thing that stands out to me with Kobe Sanders is they've thrown him to the wolves on defense, and I think that he's held up fairly well. He will work, and he's pretty good at helping, too. So if he's going to be away from the action, and that's just at number 50, I know the Clippers are a disaster, and so this might be damning with faint praise, but he's been one of the bright spots of their season.
Do you know what his middle name is?
I do not.
Michael. So he's just Kobe Michael. And now that family just ruined it with Sanders. They could have gone so many different ways. They could have gone James, Kobe Michael James. There are so many connections there. I'm just saying that.
So you're saying they should have actively changed.
They should have actively
name.
changed his name. They weren't. They
should have made it more egregious. Then, if that's what it should have been,
right?
Kobe Michael LeBron.
Right. Yes.
The last name should have just been
Kobe Michael Kareem. I don't know. I don't care. Just something that would have Also an older rookie, by the way, also going to turn 24 this season. So. And this is the maturity level that I'm kind of talking about. Someone who comes in and says, "All right, like I've had my fun at the collegiate level. Like I'm ready to do some damage here." So yeah, I'm with you. That's a good shout.
And the other shout out I would like to, I think just two rookies we could talk about is in Portland.
Oh yeah.
Young Hansen, I still believe he's just not playing a ton. Young Hansen. I think that he is going to end up being better on defense than people expect still. I have not changed that prior. And I'm still just interested to see what, in more minutes, I think that he is someone who could be an instrumental passer. But they have a lot of dudes on Portland. They like to play small, too. And so he's been hard-pressed to get minutes. And I will say, as someone who even loves him, hasn't necessarily earned a ton of minutes. Do you have any thoughts on him?
Well, I mean, here's another rookie, apparently, during Summer League play, which I heard about but didn't see, who got Nikola Jokic comps. So apparently nowadays,
I probably made some of those.
Apparently now it's just easy to get Jokic comps, which like, okay, is Nikola Jokic even impressive anymore then? Is everyone just the new Jokic? Is that where we are?
I would like to say no, but he did the Jokic pass the other night where I was just like,
Right.
we're at the point where he shouldn't be able to keep us in awe 24/7, 365, and he still does.
He just still
Bananas.
does. I think that's why I push back on it. Like, I think it's so insulting to like arguably the best offensive big man of all time.
I don't think it's insulting. It's just become too, again, the vibes of it all I get, but we just throw them around haphazardly. And if it's a joke, yeah, sure. But I think it's more of a concern. It's not an insult to Jokic. I view it as if you really, because if you thought that Hansen was going to be Jokic and this is what his rookie season is, you're going to believe he's a disaster.
So many people coming into this year just incredibly disappointed in Jan Hansen. So honestly, he's just played so few minutes that
are you surprised? I guess the real question is there's nothing to take away from his rookie season.
Well, okay.
So are you surprised hasn't played more?
There's one thing I'm taking away from it. Him being allowed to take threes at this rate was something that I wasn't sure was going to be a thing. I'm glad that they're going this route. Because and they sort of went the same way with Donovan Clingan, basically saying, you know what, we're okay with that. Like, we're okay with you taking the 3-point shot. I love that. I love that the centers like have that, that green flag or that green light to be able to go out and actually take it, because eventually it's going to be a necessity. So for a young guy coming in the league and not having to worry about, am I getting yanked if I take this 3? No. Take it, young fella. It's fine.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that.
Well, he doesn't have to worry about getting yanked because he's just going to play exclusively in garbage time.
Right.
But there's that, and the other just the defensive takeaway, and I can't remember what garbage time game it was that I saw him in, but there was just 2 straight possessions where he played both ends of the pick and roll and broke up one of the plays, and it's okay. I don't think he's going to be defensive player of the year material, but it just feels like there's maybe a little bit more there, and I'm so fascinated to see how he's developed and what he turns into. Fascinated is the word by him. I'm not going to call him baby Jokic.
Good.
Maybe he's more, what would be the word? Like fetus Jokic, so he hasn't really been born yet.
Okay. We're entering that stage of the podcast where we're just idiots. Okay, great.
Caleb Love, that's a totally valid. He hasn't come out yet. He'll be baby Jokic by his sophomore or third season. Caleb Love, came out of nowhere. Caleb Love, not someone I knew a ton about. Really the real takeaway from his season is he had the Warriors broadcast in shambles the other night.
Yeah, you told me. I haven't heard that.
Because he was knocking down threes, and they were basically like, well, you're not going to win this game when this guy is shooting like that. And to some extent, that's kind of true because he's not shot the ball exceptionally well overall. His shot making is all over the place. And it needs to even out just because he's not the best finisher at the basket. And so I think he needs that perimeter game. I will say what I like about him is he's looking to pass on the move more than I expected from him just after going back through his scouting reports. And then the movement away from the ball, just everything, like my very few priors of him, and then looking back at some of the stuff that was written about him pre-draft, felt like he was going to be someone who maybe needed the ball athletically to make plays, and he hasn't necessarily needed to do that. And so to just be able to get some Caleb Love minutes going early on in the season, and to just have that game. Again, he won you the game, or was one of your like 2 or 3 primary reasons that you beat the Warriors and put their broadcast in shambles. I would call that 11 of 10 A+ stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So overall, not a great efficiency player, not at the collegiate level, not at the NBA level. I'm curious as to what his total upside is, like what his ceiling is, what kind of role he can have at the NBA level. Is he going to be someone who can settle into a more streamlined role? You were talking about this. Oh, we were talking about this earlier with another player. Who the hell was that? Like
Ace Bailey, I think.
Was it Ace Bailey? Yeah.
Yeah.
And like just getting into more of a limited role where you can be a star within this small fraction of the offense. I think that has to be the way forward. And I just don't know if it's the 3-point shot or if it's something else. I do think he offers you something on the glass. I do think he gives you some all-aroundness. He's done that at the collegiate level as well. So it's just a matter of finding out what can he do that's sustainable at the NBA level. Because, like, coming in and scoring, 26 points against the Warriors and being allowed 14 3-point shots, probably not sustainable in the long term for him. I don't think that's a role he's going to get, especially playing 37 minutes. So, like, what is his path towards relevance?
I have no idea. And, like, one of the bigger, like, so Portland plays basically faster than anybody in the league. He's been erratic even in high-quality transition opportunities.
Yeah.
7 of 19 in transition. So I don't know, but he'll always have that game. I will just say the comps that came out for him were along the lines of a Jamal Crawford, even maybe a Kevin Porter Jr. The game might be a little bit more spot on. I just really looked at that background info and thought this is not someone who should be even remotely menacing away from the ball.
Right.
And I think that he's at least done that, or at least has made an effort to, and we'll see where it pans out. But if you were to ask me, I'll say this, I'm way more confident in Will Richard being a staple rotation player long term than I would be Caleb Love. That might be the best way to frame it.
Yeah, same.
Did you have any honorable mentions or guys that I think the one that sticks with me is we have not seen a ton of Common Malawach. I thought that he was going to be someone that was going to get a ton of minutes out of the gate for Phoenix. And to their credit, they've been pretty feisty and good. And fun stat on that, Mort, Dylan Brooks right now is 7th in self-created shot-making efficiency. 7th.
Okay, that's a stat that just blew my head. All right.
And it's obviously sustainable is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, totally.
But has that surprised you at all that he hasn't gotten, or do you think that this is a matter of, well, look at what they're doing. Malawach isn't going to align with them being scrappy in the Western Conference at this stage. And I don't know how to square it. You got the 10th, you got him in the Kevin Durant trade. He was the 10th pick.
Yeah.
So you have real equity invested in him. But I look at how the rest of the team is playing, the minutes they've used with Oso Ighodaro. We talked about Mark Williams on a previous podcast. I don't know what to make of it, but at some point I hope he gets more minutes just so we can kind of see what he looks like at this level.
This is a team that doesn't always value draft picks or guys that they draft. Remember when they declined Jalen Smith's third-year option as well after he was drafted 10th overall?
You and Jalen Smith, man. Are you on the payroll?
I wish to be. That's fine. Just call me up. I'll do that. No, but like, I'm just saying that the Suns have a tendency to not get the best out of their draft picks, and where they lack foresight is probably the best way to phrase it. I just don't think, regardless of whether they're feisty or not, they are. There's just no way I can, in any way, shape, or form, justify this as an organization. Like, oh yeah, let's get this guy 10th overall in the lottery. Like, let's play him under 5 minutes per game. It's so blatantly ridiculous. And you can sit there and argue that, oh well, we're better off trying this and that. All right, so when you were beating Indiana by 35 points, you could only get him 6 minutes of playing time, really? When you're beating the Pelicans by 23 points, you could only get him 4 minutes of playing time? Bull. Absolute bull. That is just, again, I just do not trust the Suns at this stage to go out and actually invest in like legitimate young guys. Because like Ryan Dunn and Oso last year, they were older rookies. They were a little bit more ready for the fight. But when it comes to younger guys, they lose their patience. This has been a thing they've done for years. I need to see them flip that switch. Malawach not playing more is criminal. Just absolutely criminal.
Do you think, if you had to guess, do you think that will change at some point this season? Because it's not, I know people have mentioned, well, if they trade Nique Richards isn't even playing really.
Right. No, they're playing centerless. But okay, if you want to play centerless, why go out?
I mean, Mark Williams is a center.
Right. All right. Okay. But you know what I mean? They don't go center depth.
Oso is
like a
center
4 or 5.
adjacent. He's a center adjacent.
Okay. But like, you know what I mean? They don't really go deep on the traditional center stuff, which is fair. Like that is a choice as an organization. I don't necessarily sit here and say that that's a bad idea, because you can certainly win games off of that mentality. But then why go out and spend the 10th overall pick on Maluach? Cedric Coward was right there. If you want to go more wing heavy, you're going to take him instead. There are so many. Don't get me started, Dan. When he was picked at 10th, I remember sitting there going, oh, what a waste. That was the first thing I thought of when he was picked there. And so far, it stayed true.
I probably wouldn't go as far as to, criticize the Suns to that extent, but I've clocked that, this is very bizarre to me that he is not playing more.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yes.
I think it needs to change. I know that gradual development is a thing, but at some point you want to find out what you have. I mean, if you don't play someone, look at the Dyson Daniels situation.
Yeah.
Barely plays and doesn't play enough in New Orleans first 2 years. Gets to Atlanta, has this breakout season. All of a sudden, he has to be paid. Like you're talking about an extension, and so you want to amass that sample size, especially in a season. I know you don't control your own first round pick, but there are no stakes. Like we all kind of knew it. The Suns have been friskier than expected, but you got to find a way to get him more PT. And
again, like I said, a 35-point win against Indiana, 6 minutes. 6 minutes. Can you justify that as an organization? Because I don't think
if he was active, I did not see the game against Indiana. So if he was active, no, I don't know how you justify not playing him in that.
No, he played, but 6 minutes again. Like, 6 minutes in a 35-point win, and you have he's a top 10 pick. You have to invest in his development. It's unserious, is what it is, and it wouldn't even shock me if he's traded mid-season. Like some organizations. Yeah. Go into that mentality. Like, okay, we have a young guy. He's not going to fit something because like we're frisky this year. We're doing pretty well. Let's see what we can get. And like his salary slot is actually pretty high because this rookie scale is up there. Let me just make sure I'm not lying to our listeners, but like $6 million. That's not a contract you don't get anything.
It's the mini MLE.
All right, you can get someone there. Just saying.
I'm trying to think if there's anyone else. I mean, Chris Youngblood playing so much more than
Now we're down in the slumps of the rookie class. I think we're okay.
He has not played a ton, and I would not expect him to play a ton, but Brooks Barnhizer is not the dregs of the NBA draft. That dude is going to be a player. When they're all of a sudden, I don't know if we need Lou Dort or Alex Caruso moving forward because Brooks Barnhizer exists. Just remember that you heard it here first.
Fair enough.
You have anything else, or are you ready to tell our audience where they can find you and all the fantastic work that you do?
You can find me at Yahoo Sports, at Forbes. I also do the NBA podcast, and if you speak Danish, I do the Buzzer Beater podcast, and I also call games over at HBO Max.
Until next time, rate, review, subscribe, high points on YouTube's, comment, go join our Discord. The link to that is in the YouTube and podcast description. And finally, shout out, as always, to the one, the only, the French Prince himself, Mr. Frank Ntilikina.